Hi, I'm Jamie Davidson. I'm a Director of Product Management at Looker at Google Cloud, and I'm going to talk about our 2021 roadmap. To start, Looker is an enterprise BI tool. We really think of ourselves as a data platform first and foremost, serving enterprise BI as the killer application on top of that platform, but really a wider range of spectrum across embedded analytics, across data-driven workflows, and really custom applications. We've got a couple of unique pieces of our architecture that really are a main driver for our core differentiation. The first is an in-database architecture. We leverage best-in-class cloud data, cloud-native data warehouses like BigQuery, like Snowflake, Redshift, and others, to be able to take advantage of all the unique functionality and cost and performance characteristics that you see. On top of that in-database architecture, we've got a semantic modeling layer. This is where analysts can come in and specify data relationships and curate business logic. That semantic modeling layer is integrated with Git and version control, giving you lifecycle management. Then finally, we are a cloud native application. We've got an API first mentality. Everything you can do in the BI tool and more is accessible via our APIs. And that has a couple of really clear benefits for our customers. The first that we see is really around data governance. We present a single pane of glass, one common definitions for metrics too, because of our semantic model. That semantic model also serves to democratize access and empower much broader sets of an organization to self-serve analytics, because you don't have to know the data model, you don't have to know the complex logic that goes into your KPIs. Instead, you can actually rely on and leverage analysts that have set it up. Because we are a cloud native application too, everything's URL referenceable. You can always go and see the underlying SQL that is used to generate a report too, and it's always repeatable. And then finally, because we've got an in-database architecture, we allow organizations to have really granular access to their data, to the live database too. So there's no latency that's introduced with extracts and the like, and you can use your data then in operational contexts. We see our customers using that for sure internally with classic reporting and self-serve analytics, but increasingly we see our customers embedding these dashboards into internal portals for internal reporting and driving more data-driven decision making into things like SaaS tools like Salesforce, so that you can drive better sales or better customer interactions. And then finally, really, we see customers increasingly building completely custom bespoke experiences on top of our APIs too, using data that's governed by the Looker platform too in wildly different contexts, creating value. I'm going to switch gears and talk a little bit about where we're going. We think about our product in a couple of different layers. At the base, we've got our core foundation. This is where you've got direct connection to your databases. This is where you have the development environment for your modeling experience too, and the semantics associated with it. That's the core foundation piece, and also administration as well. The second layer is the platform. That's really, how do we expose the value of the database? How do we expose the connections of the database to, and ultimately the surface on top of which customers can build, and then we also build ourselves. And finally, we've got the end experience. That's the data-driven experience that Looker builds in our BI tool too, leveraging that integration with our data platform. So I'm going to walk through each of these areas too at a high level. So starting at the base and our foundation too, it's really important to note, while we're part of Google Cloud, we really firmly support our customers' right to choose the right piece of infrastructure for the right problem. We support something like 50, greater than 50 different SQL databases. We support hosting in a variety of cloud contexts. We've got really powerful data modeling too, and are making the platform even more robust, that I'll talk about in just a moment. So on this secure multi-cloud architecture, we've got a wide variety of security certification and are continually investing in the security footprint and the sort of profile of the application, in giving customers even greater ability to configure these types of security profiles by integrating with a bunch of GCP's best-in-class really security. So things like customer managed encryption keys and virtual private cloud support too. And also I note we support hosting in AWS and GCP literally right now. We are in the process of actually opening up support for Azure, and that'll be coming soon, where you can basically pick the right cloud infrastructure for your specific problem. Switching gears, Looker has a powerful data modeling tool, and at times you may want to have transformations in data warehouse too to drive better performance and cost characteristics. We spent a bunch of time last year and will continue to be building out ways to have more robust transformation. And that's things like a really durable build process that's incrementally loading data for things like append-only tables that are transactional. You don't need to recompute transformations to get the most recent days or hours worth of data that's been recently ETL'd. And then, like everything too, we've got a robust API surface to be able to actually control these types of transformations. LookML is the core of Looker. It's where you enumerate data relationships and business logic, and we want to make it even easier to actually generate that LookML. And this is things like automated model generation too, both for the initial creation process, but then also for the maintenance of LookML over time. So using things like SQL and looking at the database schema to be able to actually automatically generate LookML objects too, and say when the schema changes, or looking at things like a join path, the logic enumerated inside a SQL statement too, to be able to build out a series of views within an Explorer. Switching gears to our platform layer, this is the surface on top of which we're going to be building out experiences to. This is where we think about our embedded product. This is where we think about our APIs and SDKs, and we want to enable our customers and partners as well as ourselves to build out custom experiences. This is where we think about the lifecycle management too for your content and instance. To give you a quick look at how we think about exploration today, in a very crude sort of rough architecture, at the base you've got your LookML definitions. This is the data fields that are enumerated inside the model. On top of that, you've got our Explorer UI, which is really the manifestation and the user experience of that model. You can explore using sort of a simple interface, asking complicated questions. You can save that content on the dashboards, and of course, then you can find that content inside the broader instance too via navigation like search or boards or folders. Where we're going, we think that while the Explorer UI is incredibly powerful, we think that actually for specific use cases and workflows, that tailored experiences are actually going to be easier to actually interface with data. And so we want to create a series of new exploration experiences too, still leveraging that same data model and the logic enumerated within LookML, but present it to end users in easier, more intuitive ways to do at times complicated analysis. So what does that look like? Here's an example where we are exposing a workflow analysis to, and in this case, it's a conversion funnel. This is something that's really common for marketers or even product managers to be able to understand, user behaviors and paths to and drop-off rates, where there's a series of steps you want to enumerate to be able to actually understand it. It's possible to do in a pivot table metaphor like the Explorer experience too. It's just difficult to actually construct these things like this sort of the filtered steps. Where in this very simple UI too, it's going to be easy to retain the power of that broad Explorer experience too, in a really intuitive way, simpler for that marketer or business user. Here's another example too, again for marketers and product managers. A cohort analysis is an incredibly common type of analysis too, looking at behaviors for various segments of your customer base over time. And it's something that, again, possible to do inside a pivot table metaphor, but really difficult actually too, and can require complicated modeling. Whereas actually in the front-end experience too, it turns out there's only a few degrees of freedom that you'll actually use to be able to actually do this type of analysis. So we're going to, again, retain the power of the Explorer experience to make it much simpler for the end user. Here's a period over period analysis. Time series is an incredibly common use case across our customer base too. Again, it's possible to do this inside the pivot table metaphor too, but the comparison periods actually can be difficult for customers. There's a lot of different patterns to be able to do this. We want to make it incredibly easy to choose dimensions to be able to break down the granularity of the time frame to, and choose the period over which you're going to actually compare. All of those types of analysis will be possible. We'll be building out, ourselves. They're all built on top of the extension framework, which is a new feature that we have in beta as of last year in 2020, where we basically allow our customers and partners to build front-end experiences too, with sandboxed JavaScript too, to be able to create tailored experiences without having to host, to run your own servers, without having to pre-authenticate with Looker's APIs. You can take advantage of the Looker hosting environment too, and really create bespoke experiences. And we are building, extensions ourselves. We released a data dictionary. We'll be releasing an ERD, very shortly too. Those workflow-based experiences as well will be extensions too. We want to make it easy too to build out these types of extensions. So we're releasing a series of JavaScript-based components to make it really simple to take the common elements that we see across these data-driven experiences. So things like filters, things like visualizations, things like integrating with the Looker data APIs, and make it so you have a really simple place to start and then can take it and extend it beyond. Of course, core to Looker is our integration with Git. And really what that enables you to have is a lifecycle management for your business as it changes. So, data models will continually change as you change your product, as you change your operations and workflow. Similarly, your business logic actually changes, very frequently over time too. And by integrating with sort of the best-in-class, business processes that you see inside software development today, we expose, a means to actually manage that change. And so we're extending that change management paradigm too, really beyond even just the model to things like content. So, our dashboards and saved reports and the like, and also then beyond to extensions now too, where you've got front-end experiences too that are created, tied to content, tied to data models, and you want to change them all in lockstep. Of course, you want a really easy way to discover this type of content, and for partners and customers to be able to release this type of content too in a simple way. So we've got a marketplace for that, where you can find things like custom visualizations. You can find things like LookML blocks, so pre-built LookML content too, for templated analysis on common data sets and common analytical patterns, and a very simple way to manage updates and process too. So we're really excited about the marketplace. We've got lots of customers that are excited to leverage it too. I'm now going to switch gears to and talk about the end experiences that Looker we build on top of that platform. This is a couple of things. This is really where you sort of think of the classic reporting and self-serve analytics that you think of in BI, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. But then also I'll talk about how we sort of see the future, going forward too. So we released a brand new dashboard actually at the end of last year. We're really excited about it too, and we're not done, with the dashboard experience yet. We're investing in new means to configure, having greater controls over the presentation layer. We're investing in even what you could think of as effectively new content type too. How do you integrate governed data into something where it's much more of a WYSIWYG, drag and drop interface to control the presentation? This is probably useful for very specific tailored experiences. Maybe you've got a executive PDF that goes out every Monday morning too, that you want it to look and feel a certain way so that it's easy to consume. And then finally, we're thinking a lot about the extensibility of these dashboards too. I talked a little bit about the new workflow-based analysis that we're going to be enabling in the instance too. Of course, these types of analysis have to be able to sit inside a dashboard, and so that you can have a simple way of presenting common product data too, and then enable some period-over-period analysis and in context. Just as we rebuilt our core dashboard experience, we're actually taking a really big look at our core Explore experience as well. So how people actually ask questions of their data, and ultimately create content to save and share and find value from. And along those lines, we're investing in a bunch of different dimensions. So one is, rich visualization. We want to take our really powerful default visualization and give you even more controls over what's possible to present, leveraging that same data model. We're also looking at simplifying the interface and making it easier for business users without direct knowledge and context of the data model to find value from it too, and make it easier for them to ask more questions. So things like Quick Start, where you've got pre-built queries that are an easier starting point than sort of a blank page, or things like custom fields in sort of quick calculations, where you don't have to go to a data model, you don't have to go to a developer to be able to actually do simple things like change the means for aggregation or change the way you transform various fields. And of course, too, in this context, we want to integrate these workflow-based tools, because those are often going to be the easiest way to actually interface with certain types of data sets, and easiest way to do certain types of analysis too. So, in this case, maybe a cohort tool is going to be one of those quick start queries to be able to easily showcase value and understanding of a data set. When we joined Google, one of the things we were most excited about getting access to is really the deep expertise in ML and AI. And we're taking that expertise too and bringing it into the BI tool. We're going to do a couple of different things. We've got an early version of a natural language interface that leverages our data model. You can think of your LookML models as really they're a semantic model and actually a vocabulary really to interface with your data. And by building natural language interfaces on top of that vocabulary too, we can allow for broader use and new means for actually interacting with that data. You see here it sitting inside the Looker tool. Of course, this is something that we're going to think about in an API platform first way too, and bring it to things like our mobile application, or bring it to things like our chat integrations with Slack. We've got a really powerful feature called analytical alerts that we're going to be building on too. So today you can basically take your Looker data, set up hard conditions and thresholds to actually generate workflows and tie them to things like our Action Hub. You can actually do really powerful, complicated, automated workflows based on your data. We want to make it so that it's even smarter, and you don't have to set hard and fast threshold, but instead actually just allow an analyst or a business user to say, hey, this is a KPI I care about. Maybe it's the sales for a specific area. Let me know if it changes significantly, and maybe even eventually, how do we understand what's driving those changes too, using the dimensions already enumerated in our semantic model. And then finally, the workflow-based analysis that I talked about, where we're simplifying really complicated analysis too by parameterizing it in simple ways and creating templates, is actually an incredibly powerful way too to actually engage with AI and ML. And we want to enable the citizen data scientists, the business users that are doing finding value from data, using data operationally to have a means to actually use these complicated and sophisticated techniques. So things like time series forecast, where we can allow a business user to specify a time series too and actually look at a forecast range within the tool. Looker's a platform, first and foremost, I said it at the start of this roadmap too, and we think a lot about how do we bring data to wherever an end user is sitting. One of those places we launched last year was a deep integration with Slack and the productivity tool, where increasingly we see our customers spending more and more time. We also are super excited about bringing Looker into the Google productivity suites as well, and enabling collaboration and communication too with governed Looker data. So things like having a governed visualization inside a slideshow, where maybe it's an operational report that you review on a weekly basis too, and you want it to be really easy to both update the data too, and then ultimately actually go and ask questions of it and explore that data within the Looker tool. Similarly, you could see this inside Docs. As we think about new presentation means for reports, the Google Docs WYSIWYG front-end experience too gives you a huge amount of control over the presentation and integration with the data model. And then finally, we're going to continue to build out and invest in our Action Hub, where we can enable you to take governed Looker data to and seamlessly integrate it with other third-party APIs and third-party tools to, things like, in this case, changing a marketing campaign based on performance, or creating customer lists too and sending them to create a new segmentation or campaign. So that's the Looker roadmap. We've got a whole lot of things we're super excited about for 2021. We love feedback too. Don't hesitate to reach out to your account rep or the product team in general too. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.